Well, what is going on, everybody? Welcome, everybody, into the Overreaction Buffalo Sports Show on the Overreaction Sports Network, brought to you, or I should say powered by Believe. I'll get that right one of these days. It is so good to have all of you with us. My name is Joe Miller. You can find me on Twitter at Joe Miller Wired, sitting alongside my two awesome co-hosts, former Buffalo Bills, John Fina and Jerry Ostrowski. You can also find them on Twitter or X. They are great follows. They love to interact. You should go follow them right now if you have not done so yet. Please do us a favor. Please like, please subscribe, whatever platform you are consuming this vidcast or podcast on, whether it is live with us right now on YouTube, Twitter, or Facebook, or in post on some podcast platform. Please subscribe, please like, or leave us a review. That would be great. But it is so good to have you. Welcome to everybody that's joining us in the comments section. Evening. We're almost through the off season, the dead season, John and Jerry. Like, football will be returning soonish.
Thank God. I mean, the UEFA Cup was pretty cool, still down to the semis, but football is the American sport, man. And I miss it. I miss it desperately.
I'm kind of enjoying the soccer, actually. I mean,
you were enjoying the hockey, and now
right, exactly. You got to go with what you got, man. So
yeah, I'm telling you,
it's you go with what you got, and the hockey's over with. So I got the Euro in the morning and early afternoon. I got the Copa at night. Mm-hmm. It's been great. A little bit of golf. I mean, it's not bad.
Yeah, how was everybody's fourth? Good. You guys celebrate the nation's birthday in fashion, in red, white, and blue fashion?
I did not.
Sounds like nope.
I mean, we did. It's a Thursday, right? So I hate when the fourth falls in the middle of the week, kind of like that. Right. But we swam. Like I said, my older boy and his fiance were in town.
That's awesome.
My other son came over. We had everybody in the house. John asked me earlier, like, why do you seem like you're bluesing, man? I was like, it's kind of nice when all the kids are here at one time, and they all left today. So I'm just kind of looking at the animals, and my wife and I are staring at each other like, what are we going to do?
Well, I had a great fourth as well. We spent a couple days on the boat. The nicest weather day was today, the day we did not spend on the boat, but the weather has not been bad. It was just one day was windy, one day was cloudy. But I am wearing my buddy's T-shirt, Big Bear Barbecue T-shirt. My buddy opened a barbecue supply store here in Buffalo, in Depew, and I threw that out on Twitter. So I figured I would show him some love. And Joe Green, this is for you. I don't think he watches, but
do we have time to catch that on the 20th or no?
For sure. Absolutely. So 100%. So everybody, welcome. As we said, we are continuing. This is week 3 of a 3-week series, a 3-part series where we talked about the AFC North 2 weeks ago. We talked about the AFC South last week. We had great football conversation around those two divisions. If you did not catch it, it's kind of like timeless until the football season starts. So you can go back and you can find both of those episodes. For this show, we are talking about the AFC West. And amazingly enough about the AFC West is just a year or two ago, they were like the monster in it. Like, you had the Bills and then it was the AFC West. And now they're like, as I'm doing my research about this football team, they're potentially like the worst team. They got the best team in the conference and the worst teams in the division. It's how the worm has turned. But the Chiefs, just to give it to you guys real quick, won that division and the Super Bowl. They were 11-6 last year. The Raiders and Broncos both finished at 8-9, and the Chargers were 5-12. We're going to start, I would imagine, at the top, like we always do, with the Chiefs. I will give you guys just a quick snippet of stuff that I have. They obviously drafted Xavier Worthy. The Bills, play them November 17th in Buffalo at 4:25. They've had a lot of movement at wide receiver. I think the big news here, obviously Xavier Worthy, Hollywood Brown. The big news, losing potentially Rashid Rice, which is a reported 12-week suspension coming his way. And then obviously the big thing.
Does it start now or does it start at the beginning of the season?
I think it's going to start. I bet it starts at the beginning of the season. My guess is he'll be at training camp. He'll be probably play all the preseason games, and then his suspension will start week 1. And then obviously the big news for them is Chris Jones inking a 5-year deal worth $95 million guaranteed. But when you look at this team and what they've done in the offseason, Jerry, I don't know if you want to go first as far as just kind of just a quick outlay or what your thoughts are just on the Chiefs.
Yeah, sure. I mean, the thing that stands out to me from last season, obviously this is a team that struggled early, ends up going 11-6, does win a Super Bowl. But when you look at their points for and points against, I thought that was interesting. They were 15th in the league in points for at 371 total points. This is why they won a Super Bowl, folks. They gave up 294 points for the season. They were second in the league in points against. So they played really, really good defense. Obviously, Patrick Mahomes, popular opinion, not popular opinion, best quarterback in the NFL.
Yes.
And that's with an offensive line that's not necessarily super talented. And then you look at their wide receiver situation. We talked about Rashee Rice. We talk about them drafting Xavier Worthy, and obviously tons and tons of controversy in amongst the Bills Mafia about that pick as we traded with the Chiefs, and that is who they took when we made that trade. But the thing about this football team is, they signed the number one free agent available in football, and that's Chris Jones. And I think right now they've got a really, really good thing going on defense. And they signed some of their other key players, their key guys like Clyde Edwards-Helaire, Drew Tranquil, and also LeJarvis Sneed. So the core group is back. If they can get better at the wide receiver position, I expect them to be right back where they always been because A, the defense, and B, Patrick Mahomes.
Yeah, I agree with you, Jerry. Their defense, it just didn't seem.
Wait. One quick correction. L'Jarius Sneed is now a Titan. He was actually.
I'm sorry,
traded
he is
to
a
the
Titan.
Titans.
Yeah. They lost him. Yes.
Yeah, and I was like, I don't think that's right, but I wanted to confirm it first. So
Thank
you.
you.
That's a big loss, by the way, L'Jarius Sneed. But yes, Go ahead.
Yeah, so it didn't seem like they defensively were. They were just solid all the time.
Mm-hmm.
And then when they got in the playoffs, their game just upped. I mean, the corners played out of their heads in the Super Bowl. They played great in the playoffs.
Mm-hmm.
I see them now as saying, Patrick Mahomes, you've got this curious wide receiver room, much like the Buffalo Bills do.
Right.
But just as we have Josh Allen, you're Patrick Mahomes. You're going to have to do this with Isaiah Pacheco and your big tight end, right, Kelce, and then figure it out with the other guys, especially one who's going to go on a 12-week sabbatical once the season starts, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then Xavier Worthy, I still think there's risk in a rookie. If he starts out, if he has a good training camp, I would think they'd be silly not to play him a lot. But I think by and large, they're going to rely on the defense until they can kind of get this offensive system down with the players that they have, and not a fantastic offensive line.
I agree with you. It's going to be interesting to see how they approach 2024 because losing L'Jarius Sneed is like losing Trey White. I mean, he's a phenomenal player on the backside of that defense. I was completely surprised when they let him walk. Obviously, they picked Chris Jones over Sneed is what they effectively did in this scenario, which probably you two could attest to that, what is are the trenches more important than the backside of a defense, right? Are the trenches more important than maybe some skill level positions? So clearly they're invested in that defensive line. It'll be interesting to me to see how they do, to your point, John, approach this season. And more so, we've talked about it. We talked about it a ton as far as the Buffalo Bills and beating them in the regular season. We all three went to a Bills-Chiefs game 2 years ago, and the Bills came out victorious in Arrowhead. But what's it going to take for the Bills to get beyond them or past them in the playoffs? That's what it's always going to come down to for us conversationally. Jerry, go ahead.
I mean, obviously, Rashee Rice throws a big wrench into this whole thing, right? I mean, I think that they were really counting on him to have a great sophomore season.
Yeah.
You let MVS go. He's now in Buffalo. You bring in Marquise Brown. You add Xavier Worthy to this, and some people feel that he's already penciled in as a starter.
Right.
But again, I mean, this is a Chiefs team that's going to do what on offense? They're going to stress you downfield with speed. And then they got Travis Kelce in the middle to be the bailout guy, the guy to make plays and get first downs when needed. Now, it'll also be interesting to see how Kelce does this year, considering this is his first offseason with a huge distraction. I am not – yes, maybe the biggest distraction in the world, right? I'm not saying he's not going to, but – I mean, seriously, if you're gallivanting around foreign countries at concerts all the time,
learning dance moves,
right? You're not training. You're not doing. But then again, you look at his age; he's advanced age in the NFL, and then you look at the injuries and things like that. Maybe this is a simple fact that he's resting and he's still doing what he needs to do. I wouldn't doubt if if his significant other probably brings an entire training facility with her to every concert site. I mean, The Rock does it. Why can't she, right?
Personal trainer, nutritionist,
Right.
masseuse,
Exactly.
someone that's the Pilates guy, the cupper guy.
I just don't with this defense solidified to me. And yes, Joe, I believe front seven is much more important than back end. I think defensive and offensive linemen are much more important than the skills. Obviously, you got to have them go with them, but those are your foundational pieces of your football team, right? So getting Chris Jones re-signed, that defense will be fine. They'll figure out what to do with that third wide receiver spot. The thing about Brown, though, is, yes, is he a proven wide receiver in this league? Yes, he is, but he didn't have a great year last year. His grades last season were not amazing, but he fits what Andy Reid wants to do. And as long as you have Andy Reid and you've got, Patrick Mahomes, you always have a chance. And on paper, they very well could three-peat.
Yeah, and you can throw Spagnuolo in there too.
Yeah,
Spagnuolo.
I was just going to say you got Spagnuolo orchestrating quite a defense.
Yep.
So, John, I know he's Italian. You don't have to add it. So you don't have to add syllables. Spagnuolo.
We're gonna have it tonight after the podcast. I got it all set up in the kitchen.
You're gonna have some
How do you like your
fettuccine.
Spagnuolo? You like it spicy?
That might be my favorite part of these shows is the addition of John when he gets around Italians. It's I love it. John, please don't change. Please don't change.
That's amazing. But we can probably spend a little extra time on the Chiefs just because of what the other three teams are in this division. And when we go to pick kind of where they're gonna finish, it's gonna be interesting. Kind of, I feel like our three takes we've been different every time so far. So this one will be interesting to me too, just with all the change for all three of the teams. Go ahead.
One last point I want to make about the Chiefs. They have the luxury. And you said it earlier at the onset of the show, guys. They have the luxury of playing in the worst division in the conference.
Yes.
Yeah.
So unlike Buffalo, that has to beat their heads in for at least 4 games this season with the Dolphins and the Jets, they get to beat up on the Broncos, the Chargers, although I think the Chargers will be greatly improved, and the Raiders. So they're in conference schedule. They're what is that? 6 games that they play. A lot easier than, say, Buffalo's extra 6 games in conference.
So in the words of Dennis Allen, you want to go ahead and crown him, is what you're telling me. The AFC West champion.
Well, if all three of us don't have them number 1 in this division, somebody started
barring another significant player taking a 12-week sabbatical.
Yes.
Or more.
Unless Mahomes decides to sit out because he wants to fight for Rashid. Whatever. Have at it.
Hey, Rashid, you just went from like $65,000 a paycheck to
nothing.
0.
That's all going to charity.
Yikes.
Yes.
That's actually an interesting point too that we could address maybe some of the time that when.
And I don't think he doesn't get to direct it either.
Yeah,
and understand.
Go ahead.
And understand this, fellas. This will be the highest player fine season in NFL history because the ownership has about $4.7 billion to make up on that whole DirecTV deal. So they're going to get their money somewhere. So players, you better pull your socks up and make sure you have the right amount of white showing.
$1,500 because you had too much white showing and not enough red to get that letter on your stool. You're like,
yes,
I'm sorry, I didn't realize I was on the runway.
Yes,
we better not see any kneecaps this year at all, right? No kneecaps. So moving on in this division to the Raiders that finished second in 2023. They finished the season 8-9. They made interim head coach Antonio Pierce the guy officially, which I actually like that move a lot. Josh Jacobs, who was a phenomenal running back, they let him go. They replaced him with Alexander Madison, which to me is not an even trade. The big one for them is adding Christian Wilkins. They've got huge concerns at quarterback, and then their number 1 pick, obviously, this season, or I should say first round draft pick, was Brock Bowers, tight end from Florida, who they took at 13. John, we're going to let you go first with the Raiders. So what, just some thoughts on the Raiders?
First of all, shout out to Antonio Pierce, University of Arizona footballer. Hello, Antonio. Deshaun Foster actually was going to be on that staff. The UCLA job opened up.
Really?
And he went back to UCLA. I'm a little I'm not very optimistic for the Raiders, right? Aiden McConnell, Gardner Minshew as a backup. It just doesn't it just doesn't smell very good. And, they got nice defensive players, right? I mean, between Max Crosby, Kuntz had 8 sacks. They had 46 sacks on the season, 13 INTs. I mean, the defense was not too bad. When you don't really have that quality quarterback, I'm sorry, I just can't get behind you too hard, right? So Devante Adams, Jacoby Myers. I mean, Devante Adams, we all know that's a quality guy. I just, nothing excites me about this team, and I'm very, very happy that the silver and black have to kind of survive that. To me, they're in a little bit of a rebuild. They're trying to find themselves. They're not terribly inspiring right now for me.
As far as the Raiders go, I don't see any help for them. I mean, I love Brock Bowers. I think Brock Bowers is a tremendous weapon at the tight end spot. He is truly one of the new tight ends. He is a guy that can split out, probably even more so, and more of a dynamic route runner and big play guy than Dalton Kincaid is. Okay, I think Dalton Kincaid still has some inline abilities. I think Brock Bowers is that good outside. Mm-hmm. Even with him coming along, you bring in a journeyman like Minshew, and then you're adding to this equation on offense where they were middle of the pack last year. They scored 371 points, 15th in the league. But you add to that the worst offensive line that I've seen in the Raiders in quite a while. Outside of a guy like Colton Miller, you go ahead and you bring in Andrus Peat, who was a longtime New Orleans Saint, played guard. They're going to bump him out to right tackle. He hasn't played right tackle since 17, 18, something like that. Wow. So this is an offensive line that is going to struggle. You take their number one offensive threat away. He's now in Green Bay, and Josh Jacobs. I don't see this offense getting any better. Can they win games on defense? Sure they can. I mean, their defensive line is one of the best in the league. Defensively, they only gave up 331 points last year. That was 9th in the league. So defensively, they're playing tremendous. John talked about Max Crosby earlier. He did get an extension, so he will be happy. Kuntz coming along really, really well. You add Wilkins. So I think this front defensive line and the defense in general will be as solid as they've had been, especially looking at their head coach. They're going to play tough, aggressive defense, right? But offensively, it's just a mess. And,
if they can't keep the opposing team to under 21 every game, I think they're in trouble.
Right. Yeah. Right. Exactly. And they don't, and like John and I were talking about off air, where's your running back weapon, right?
Who's your running back, right?
Zamir White. I mean, that's your starting running back or the projected running back along with Alexander Mattson? It's
not great.
A struggle.
So you got 2 offensive weapons, is what you're saying. One of them's a rookie.
Yes.
And you have an offensive line, and I skimmed the offensive line. I was like, I don't see anything.
And we talk about Minshew playing quarterback. Really, it could be Aiden O'Connell, guys. So that's kind of who they got penciled in. But it's to me, it's John. I don't even think it's a soft rebuild. I think it's a complete rebuild on offense.
That was actually the question. I know you brought that to John, but I was going to say the last 2 teams we're going to talk about are clearly in rebuild mode. And the Raiders don't feel like they're as much. They went and they got Christian Wilkins. They've got Max Crosby. They've got Devante Adams. They've got good players on this roster. They didn't do enough, in my opinion, to catch the Chiefs. Not that maybe they're looking to catch the Chiefs this year. What's odd about it is they sat at 13 and didn't go get a quarterback. They just let the quarterback thing kind of go by, and maybe they liked Brock Bowers that much. But when I look at this, and I know I said, they made Antonio Pierce the guy, and I like that move a lot. You guys, I know, both like Antonio Pierce, but you're in a division with Andy Reid, Sean Payton, and Jim Harbaugh. And I think if there's a skull crusher, that for the Raiders, that's probably it. They are out. I like Antonio Pierce. I'm not saying he's not qualified or not going to be a good coach, but I mean, we sit here and we talk about McDermott not being able to outcoach Andy Reid, and now Antonio Pierce, year 1.5 or going into his, he hasn't even had a whole year. That just is brutal.
Yeah, it does not look pretty. Defensively, I think they're okay, but if you're a Raiders fan and you want to see touchdowns, man, I don't know where you're looking. Maybe you're maybe you're hoping they play the Chiefs 4 times a year.
Well, and then you got sitting there, you got a guy, and this is what's so crazy is you got like Devante Adams just rotting on the vine on this offense.
Right.
That can they even get him the ball? So, yeah, I mean, I don't have a lot of faith in this Raiders team, especially offensively. And I think you're looking at another struggle season. Can they get to 8-9? I don't know if they get to 8 wins. To be perfectly honest with you.
Let's move on to the Denver Broncos, who also finished 8-9 last year. This is Sean Payton's second season as head coach of the Denver Broncos. Biggest move they made was jettisoning Russell Wilson, literally just straight cutting him, taking a dead cap hit of $53 million. And to me, that's the greatest line in sports, like from a music stand. I bring it up on Twitter all the time, and rarely does anybody get it when I'm like, girl, don't go away mad. Girl, just go away. And that's what they told Russell Wilson. They were like, you just got to go, bro. Like, you can't stay here, which it seems like that's probably going to be the best move for them. I don't know that Peyton and him are going to get along too well. They've got, obviously huge questions at quarterback, just like the Raiders do. They lost Justin Simmons. They traded Jerry Jeudy to the Browns for basically 2 bags of hockey pucks, 5th and a 6th, I believe, which is crazy. This is a team in a full-on rebuild, and you got to hope that Sean Payton can do it, right, Jerry?
Yeah, I think that Peyton's the right man for the job. I think Peyton, his philosophy, how he likes to do things, we kind of talked about it the other day, or at least I did on my show, with Peyton and his theories and kind of how they intertwine with Joe Brady. Joe Brady being a Peyton disciple. He wants the ball out quick. He wants the ball on time. He's more of a short route guy, will make the big play over the top after the short stuff's working. I think this is a perfect mix right now for what's going on. They go ahead and they draft, and that was unintended rhyming, but, they draft Bo Nix, the 72-year senior from Oregon, and, they add Tony Franklin to the mix from Oregon as well. They have a rapport. You put them behind, amazingly, the Broncos do have a strength, folks. It is surprising. Even with Lloyd Cushenberry III leaving for free agency, their offensive line's pretty damn good.
Yeah,
they are a good group. So you put a rookie quarterback behind a very solid offensive line, give them some weapons. Now, all of a sudden, you have a chance to do some things. The problem with the Broncos is they're just really underwhelming on defense, especially when you lose a guy like Justin Simmons, Josie Jewell. He goes to Carolina. And this is the thing. These aren't guys that are just cut. These are free agents that got signed elsewhere. Mm-hmm. Jonathan Harris, the defensive lineman, went to Miami. We talked about Cushenberry, the center, going to Tennessee. But, yeah, defensively they are struggling. But offensively they're going to be much, much better, I believe.
John?
I can't disagree. I just think, what's Bo Nix going to look like? Jared Stidham penciled in as a starter. Joe Lombardi, from the Chargers, coached with Herbert. I don't know. I think he's serviceable. I don't think Joe Lombardi was really very thrilling. Again, they have I think a running back weakness, right? Javonte Williams. It's just nothing really strikes me as exciting. Courtland Sutton as a receiver, Josh Reynolds, Marvin Mims. I mean, it's okay. It's serviceable, right? Mm-hmm. But as you said, the defense is probably the hallmark. But Vance Joseph as the DC, I just don't find him to be inspiring. Mm-hmm. I don't know that Denver gets better this year. I think maybe they're putting the blocks in place. Maybe they're in the middle of a soft rebuild. But by and large, I think they're okay. I mean, I don't think they're vying to beat the Chiefs. I think they're hoping to stay, get to 9 wins if they can. I mean, there really isn't anything. Bo Nix, to me, 19th year senior, like you said, Jerry. I've always found him to be an inspiring player, but never really delivers consistently. There's just too many, like, why do you do that kind of moments? So I don't know that he's the solution. I'm surprised that he went as early as he did, and Denver doesn't really do it for me.
Yeah, this is probably the least interesting team of the 4 in this division, right? So we can probably just move straight on to the Chargers, who were 5-12 last year. Probably in the last 5 or 6 years, the greatest underachieving team in the NFL when you consider the hype that they and they've fallen off the hype train big time last year even. But there was always that Justin Herbert talk and like Austin Eckler and Keenan Allen. They've got all these pieces. They went and got Khalil Mack, and they've just done all this stuff. Joey Bosa. And just they have fallen flat so many times, and you have to chalk it up to coaching. I don't know that I was ever a really big fan of their head coach when he made the gaffe in the playoff game or trying to get to the playoff games. I felt like he should have been probably fired right there, but it is what it is. But Jim Harbaugh is now the head coach of the Chargers, which is exciting for that team. Justin Herbert is probably the biggest winner in that situation. There was a lot of conversation last year about, well, if you fire Sean McDermott, who do you go get? And I'm like, hello, Jim Harbaugh's out there. That'd be amazing. Well, he's now a Charger. But they did lose, as I said, a slew of weapons in Austin Eckler, who went to the Commanders, Mike Williams, who's now a Jet, and Keenan Allen, who is now with the Bears. I'm not sure. I didn't check. Is Khalil Mack still there, or did he go?
Yes, Khalil Mack is still there, and he foots up probably the strongest portion of their team, which is their edge rushing.
Yes,
right.
You got Mack and Joey Bosa together, and that's a lethal combination. If Joey can stay healthy.
If Joey can stay healthy, but I'll tell you, this is the most inspiring team of the 3, right? I don't think they threaten Kansas City this year. I think Harbaugh turns this team around. I really feel like the skeleton is there, right? And they just got to throw the meat on it. I mean, Herbert is, I think, a fine quarterback, not fine, like okay, but I think he's got the skills. They had Ladd McConkey, right? Quentin Johnston, who didn't have a great, he didn't have a great season last year, but the season before was really strong. I can't remember. I think he's, he should have a breakout year this year. Josh Palmer, I don't really know enough about to comment. It's a question. There is a running back question, right? So they got Gus Edwards from, I think. That
wasn't very inspiring,
Rutgers.
John.
Right. But beyond that, I think this. I like the staff. I think he's put together good people. He's got the best offensive line coach in the history of football, Mike Devlin. They had Joe Alt, right, as a rookie. On the season, 42 sacks, which was good, not fantastic. 11 interceptions, which is, I think, fair. But I think you just add the Harbaugh factor. The question, though, the one thing that I kind of give pause at with the Chargers on a resurgence year is the defensive coordinator is a guy by the name of Jesse Minter, who comes directly from Michigan with Harbaugh with no NFL experience. And Jerry can speak to this as well as anybody. We've seen a lot of great coaches come from college, and it's like they don't speak the language. They don't speak the culture. Dealing with college players, very different than offensive or professional players. So that one, it was a little bit of a head scratcher. Harbaugh, though, has got a great mind, right? He's got a great defensive mind, great offensive mind. I think that is a big question mark for them.
Yeah. I think Jim Harbaugh is an outstanding football coach, and I think right off the bat he showed what he's all about by drafting Alt from Notre Dame with his first round pick. His first pick is the head coach of the Chargers. They're going to be strong up front on their offensive line. They will be strong up the middle on defense. All the things I believe in football is what Jim Harbaugh believes in. I'm not worried about their wide receiver room. Those guys better just make the catches that are there when they're there, because this is going to be a team that lines up and tries to pound the ball down your throat and is going to try to control the football. With a defense like they have, they can have some success. Now, last season, their defensive play wasn't outstanding. They were 24th in points allowed, 21st in points for. But this is a team that, yes, it's rebuilding. If they take on the personality of the head coach in a short amount of time with the quarterback they have, because I do think that Herbert is a very, very good quarterback. I thought that he was stuck in a bad situation, probably asked to do too much. If you remember, he played hurt at the end of last season as well with the rib injury. I think that this is going to be a quicker turnaround than people think. I think that Harbaugh Harbaugh knows how to build winning football teams, and it's not going to take too long for him to do it.
Yeah,
I think what's interesting.
I totally agree with that.
I think what's interesting about what you said is that they're going to try to pound the ball like right into you, like they're going to run it right in, like they're going to pound it at you, which to me goes back to the quote from Joe Shane, and I know that he was talking about Saquon Barkley, but I'm not going to have my $40 million quarterback handed off to my $12 million running back. Justin Herbert's making 45 bills. Like that dude, like
yeah.
It's hard for me to get beyond, even as a non-Charger fan. You're really going to have that dude stand back there and hand the ball off?
He's going to throw the ball when he needs to, but he's going to hand it off. It's just like you guys are going to be amazed. Josh Allen's going to hand the ball off more this season than he ever has too.
It makes you a better quarterback.
Exactly, Joe. John, go ahead with that, please.
Yeah, when you mix in play action, and the Bills have done it recently, you're a better quarterback. You just keep the defense. If you can just get them to be flat-footed for half a second, looking at a run, it gives the guys on the edge, gives the opportunity for the seam. Anybody in the middle of the field stands still for half a second, Dalton Kincaid's going by you, right? I mean, Travis Kelce, because you got Isaiah Pacheco. You have to have that balance, if not just for that reason. Now, he's the $45 million guy. He's going to fake a lot of handoffs too, Joe, and that's what's going to count. But Dobbins and was it Gus Edwards or they're going to get the ball in the middle of the field a little bit, and they're going to have to make some hay.
A couple of points. One is I don't know why the $45 million price tag is a factor in whether you throw the ball or not, because the way this league is going, every quarterback's going to be making about 45. So that's the only reason you throw the ball is because you make 45. And right now there's probably half the teams in the league that won't run the ball all season long. So that's the first thing.
40 million is the new 20 million or
right.
20 million.
Right. Right. Exactly. And then the other thing we get into is just like Bill's Mafia has an amazing way of like locking in on one thing that is so trivial and they will beat it to death. And one of in Buffalo last year, it was the shotgun versus under center. Play action so much better under center than it is in shotgun, which is true. But if you don't hand the damn ball off, why the hell do you want to be under center and run shotgun and run play action anyway? You got to run the ball, right? So I just think that, and John was 100% on point. When you run the football, it makes things better, not only for your quarterback, it makes things better for you guys up front as well. It makes things better for everybody. You got to keep people on balance, and you're going to see that in Los Angeles with the Chargers.
Jerry O, you're up by 4 points. You're in the fourth quarter with 4 minutes left. What are you trying to do as an offense?
Throw. No, you're trying to run.
You know what?
How many times we hear it from Tom Bresnahan, the 4-minute drill, right?
Nobody wants to talk about running the ball until you're up by 4 with 4 minutes to go. Then you want your 4-minute offense, hand the ball off and bleed the clock. But if you don't practice that run, and you don't run in the first 3 quarters of the game, you're going to,
and then we're listening to Joe Miller on the Overreaction postgame show going, why the hell didn't they run the football?
Why didn't they run the ball for 4 minutes?
I would definitely chime in and say I'm wildly disappointed that they did not run the clock out. What are they doing throwing the ball and stopping the clock, which we have seen this football team do. However, I would go back to 2020 when they threw the ball, I think in the 60% range, if not like close to 70%. The run game was non-existent in 2020. Singletary was here. Like they couldn't make any real movement up front. So they basically abandoned it. But we're just going to throw the football all over the football field. The Bills, by and large, haven't been a great run team at all. Without you take away Josh Allen, and it's sad, right? So it'll be interesting to see
I don't
this
think
year.
It's sad. I just don't think it's great.
Okay. Tomato.
I can't hammer them that hard. I just
we'll wait for the Off Tackle with John Fina episodes to start back up, and then we'll hammer them hard then. So as we break this or finish the show up, everybody listening to us, again, the Overreaction Buffalo Sports Show on the Overreaction Sports Network. We're talking about the AFC West in our final week of AFC Divisional breakdowns. Now we're going to go through and we're going to pretty much, as we've done every week list effectively where we feel like these teams are going to finish this year in the division. We're all unanimously Chiefs across the board, number one. But Jerry, I'll let you go first. And if you've just got some reasons why, so how you see them finishing up the season?
I go Chiefs. They will sleepwalk through the division. They will probably rest their starters during the second games that they play these guys during the season. Honestly, I got Chiefs. Winning the division. I'll probably go with the Los Angeles Chargers and Jim Harbaugh going second. Then third, you probably will laugh at me. I'm going Broncos third, and I'm going to go Raiders last.
Wow.
Actually, Jerry, you and I have the same lineup, and I think Denver just edges out the Raiders just because of experience quarterbacking. Yep.
So you guys are both Chiefs, Chargers, Broncos, Raiders.
Broncos, yes. Raiders. And I think, and like I said, I just think that the Broncos edge out the Raiders, not by many, game and a half, right? But it's because of coaching.
I feel like the Chiefs are starting the season 6-0, right? So there's no telling. They obviously they've got a number one schedule. Who do the Chiefs? Who does the West play this year? Does anybody? Do either of you know which division the West plays? Chiefs, as far as Chiefs schedule. Sorry for the delay. I should have known this, and it would help if I knew how to spell schedule.
Schedule.
Right, yeah. So SCH, and every team.
John said, who do you have?
It looks like they've got the West. They've got they got the NFC South here. NFC. I think they've got the NFC. They've got the NFC South. They've got the NFC South, right? So they've got the Panthers, Buccaneers, Saints, and the Falcons. So there's a couple wins there. From an AFC division standpoint, I think they've got, Texans are a number one team. Browns were number one. I can't tell who they've got from an AFC. I feel like if the Chiefs are going to play this year, they're going to finish the season like in the 12-13 win column, right? So they're going to blow that division. That's where I was going with that whole thing. They're going to blow that division, the top off that division. I don't think it's outside the realm of possibility that those three bottom teams finish with the same record in the 5-12 range, 6-11. Like, obviously they're gonna rank and stack.
But who's second, third, and fourth? Let's go.
They're gonna rank and stack, but I don't even know that it matters. I'm probably with you guys that the Chargers are second. The Raiders, I'm just not sure that they can finish third. But the Broncos, there's not much there either. It's tough. So just to be different, I'm gonna go Chiefs, Chargers, and then I'm gonna go Raiders, Broncos. But I'm literally gonna have the Chargers, Broncos, and Raiders pretty much with the same record around the 6-win range.
My one deal with the Chiefs, though, to what we keep their win total down to around what it was last year and losing some games they shouldn't lose, is just human nature, right? Mm-hmm. Is Chris Jones as motivated this season as he was last season getting the payday that he got? Kelce, what's his motivation? Mahomes, okay, he's already now, everybody believes he's the best in the league, multiple time Super Bowl winner. Where's his motivations? It'll be interesting to see how that plays out as well, because the mind, as Karl Mock would say, John Fina, the mind is a terrible thing, and
it's got to be stopped before it kills
right. And we, you just don't know what human nature will hold for the Chiefs, but no, they're definitely the cream of the crop as far as the AFC West goes.
Yeah, stand-up comedian Bill Nelson. That's a line from Bill Nelson as far as that goes, who was in very, very few movies. But so that is our wrap-up on the AFC South. Or the AFC West. We've now done the North, the South, and the West. Any final comments on any of this stuff as far as these three divisions, gentlemen? Do we want to do where we think like the top four, the division winners? Who do you guys want to do that? Who we think the division winners are going to be? I guess we already claimed that, didn't we? We picked them.
Yeah, Baltimore, Houston, Buffalo, and the Chiefs.
Well, then I guess there's no reason to keep dragging this show on, I guess. Right?
So. No, the thing that I learned, what did you learn on the show today, Jerry? I did not know that Mike Devlin, who was the assistant offensive line coach for Jim Harbaugh's brother, John, in Baltimore, is now the O-line coach with the Chargers. That's very surprising.
Interesting. Very interesting. All right. Well, if you guys have nothing further, I'll go ahead and get us out of here. Ladies and gentlemen, you have been tuned into, and we thank you and we appreciate you tuning in to our programs in the dead season of the NFL. But never fear, training camp is just a couple weeks away. I believe the Bills rookies report on the 23rd, I believe. And then the vets report on the 24th of July. So it's coming soon. But you've been tuned into the Overreaction of Buffalo Sports Show on the Overreaction Sports Network, powered by Believe. Got it right that time. My name is Joe Miller. That is Jerry Ostrowski. That is John Fina. We love you guys. We appreciate you guys. And stick around Tuesday for our AFC East on the beat Dolphins report. Man, I'm tongue tied. Anyways, I had a lot of alcohol this weekend. Anyway, for me, for John, for Jerry, go Bills.
Go Bills. Much love. Go Bills.
Go Bills.